Hey, welcome back to the channel. All right, I believe this is probably going to be a relatively lengthy video. I'm going to do everything I can to be as concise as possible because I do think this is very important. You've seen the title, you see the thumbnail, you know what this is about. Now, I'm going to ask you, the viewer, to do a couple of very specific things. Please leave your comments, be constructive, and if you can, supply ideas, not just things that are upsetting, and be reasonable in it. Because I do believe that Kabam will be watching this. I've had some Kabam employees on the CCP server who know I am making this video, and I think that they are genuinely interested in hearing it and seeing the things that I'm going to say, especially because they know for about 3 weeks now, this last week, the 7 stars, I'm very excited about the game. I think the game has a phenomenal foundation long-term. I am incredibly excited about it, but that's part of what made me decide to make this video. Is for about 3 weeks there, I was pretty down. If you follow me on Twitter or you see my community post, you know there's been a series of things that have made the game just not fun. And this game is designed to be fun. I'm always reminding you, the viewer, that ultimately we are the customers. Kabam's job is to keep us happy enough, entertained enough that we come back month after month, week after week, day after day, and continue to play this game. I enjoy it. I'm having a blast with it. I would like to see it do exceptionally well, and that is why I've decided to go ahead and make this video. There are timestamps in the description, so you can jump around to it. I'm basically going to break everything down into 4 simple categories, falling under the headers of testing, monetization, education, and the CCP, which I am a member of, but I would like to remind you all, I do not rely on this in any way, shape, or form for any sort of income. It can come, it can go. That's why you'll see me just take 2 weeks off, because I don't rely on this, and I'm doing everything I can to show you when I criticize the company, when I criticize the game, or when I'm positive about the company or the game, it is just genuinely how I feel. Let's jump into this. All right, this first issue, and this is honestly what I really started me down the line of like, God, guys, you've got a great game. You keep making these champions that none of them feel like you necessarily have to have them, but they're not niche, right? We often talk about the term specialized, and you can use them in a variety of ways, and the game's getting bigger and more complex, but in a way that feels meaningful and with depth, and the champions feel more and more like you're playing the character with the abilities that they have. It is great. But these things were just broken. They weren't working. And it feels like so many of them could just be fixed or avoided if there were just more eyes on it. And I'm in the CCP. I have a friend who makes these champions. I am aware of how hard everyone is working. So I don't know if it's a matter of just hiring 1 or 2 more people, or getting some part-time testers, or people who just love the game and be willing to help and sign the non-disclosure agreement. I imagine there's some CCP members who would be willing to do that. I see how active they are, and they seem passionate about the game being played properly and being made properly, about people enjoying it. I urge you to seek them out, whether they are volunteers, full-time employees, or part-time. I urge you to do that because I think they would help all of these problems. The first one was the Alliance War tactic. It came out and it was clearly way too powerful. I don't know if it was ultimately decided if it was bugged or if it was just written way too powerfully. And then we went back, and now the idea seems to be that it is way under-tuned. And I get it, right? The idea is that it's better to under than to over, because if you go over, then you're just gonna get accused of money grab and all of these things. So I understand that happens, but the whole thing could have been avoided, including the week 1 delay, if there were just extra people who were able to see it through. This game is massive and complex. We all accept that, and in fact, we enjoy it. But part of that then also means accepting the responsibility for how massive and complex it has become, and doing everything you can to test something. I'm not saying you're gonna need to get everything, but when the Alliance War tactic comes out, and it's in that way, shape, or form, and then it needs to be nerfed into the ground as a result, and the season gets delayed, it lets me think, maybe this is something that could have easily been caught by some more hours and human power. Additionally, this last week of AQ, at least in map 8, and I think this was the first week with 7 stars, same thing. I do hope that there is compensation coming for this, because while the maps themselves were free, people were spending a tremendous amount of items on it just to get through the map. And this does include people with rank 5, 6-star Hercules who can do almost anything, best we can tell and best we are told. I hope they get compensated for it. I understand entering the map was free, and often there's this idea of like, well, you made the choice to play it. But the way the game is situated, the way it's monetized, and the way the economy is set up is based on us continuously playing. That's why people are so hesitant to even take a week break, much less a month break. And we are in these alliances with seasons. This has all been set up by Kabam, the company that runs it. Again, following with that same train of thought, I'd like to see you accept that responsibility, give the player some compensation for it, be probably actually their glory back or what have you, whatever the resource they were spending in order to buy those potions and revives that they otherwise would have been spending on rank up resources and things like that. Continuing on with that, and this is why we're on this page, is champions should not be coming into the game, much less in consecutive weeks or months, with their descriptions needing to be updated, or with CCP being told you can't show them running the recoil tree. Like, in my opinion, you just cannot be having that. And you definitely can't be having all these things at once. Maybe something happening on its own, I think, shows, okay, it just got through, the game's massive, it's big, or there was this one-time mistake, one-time error. But the repetitiveness of this and the totality of all of these things getting through, there needs to be more people testing all this stuff before it's shipped and before it's at a point where it can't be stopped and it eventually just comes into the game, because it leads to confusion and it leads to doubt. And then the last part of this, it really just sent me to that more negative place and made me start to see all these things together, was Battlegrounds. Battlegrounds was relatively unplayable for close to 2 weeks. And it wasn't just inputs. And I know that inputs is this large umbrella term that we use. And I often talk about how even just the way I'm holding the phone or the chair I'm sitting in my house has led me to believe that it's not always the game. In fact, it's us and the angles we're holding it at. That's not what this was. This was the game bugging out. This was game crashing. This was a fight taking place and then clearly being recorded by the game wrong. Someone clearly should have won, but they lost. 0-0 scores immediately. There was severe issues that made this game mode unplayable, but people still were, because we want to try to get those rewards that, again, have been set up by Kabam. And I feel that means that you are then responsible for it. You set up the terms of play, the terms of service, and the rules that we're all going to play under, and we're doing our best to it. But the foundation, the format, the mode you've given us to do it just flat out doesn't work, and it's obvious. And with about 2 weeks into it, there's a post on the forums saying that we should monitor our gameplay accordingly or plan our gameplay. What does that even mean in practical terms? I understand what the words mean, but practically, what does that mean to us? We're using our rank up, not our rank up resources, but our, whatever the heck those things are called, elders marks on these. Are we supposed to know when we can and can't use those, when the game may or may not be buggy, when we've been clearly having it be bugged for weeks? And here's the thing, is this isn't subjective. You could go on to the streams of many members who are in the CCP who I know are trusted and see the mode was not operating properly. Because we're not under the umbrella of input issues. This was objectively visible to the point where I canceled my own tournament. We run a 3-star tournament. I run a Battlegrounds Championship tournament with really big names in it, and we postponed it a full week. Now, if some guy sitting in a little room in my house can visibly see that and do that, then the company running the game should clearly be aware of it, and it shouldn't take 2 weeks for that to happen. Now, I understand why, you start being told you have input issues, and it can be like, well, look, guys, like Vega's saying, y'all hold it at different angles, people make mistakes, and they want to claim as input issues. I understand that, but it was obvious that's not what this was. Sorry, Jelly, I'm in the middle of a video, but and then to tell us that we should play our gameplay or plan our gameplay accordingly, that felt like a swift kick into the areas that hurts pretty bad, right? I'd like to see that stop. I'd like to see when these things and these modes are not working well, go and test them, play them yourselves, or look at all of the feedback that's being given in the CCP server and trust us. I realize that doesn't mean you'll be able to identify the problem and fix it right away. But it also would be helpful for there to be a post on the forums and probably even in the game saying, we're aware that this mode is not working well. Play it if you choose, because we know it's fun. It's been designed to be fun. There will be some sort of minimum compensation. And just use the term minimum. I understand the idea, and the reason why you often don't want to say that is because you're worried that then people are going to get unrealistic expectations. That's fine. And there's going to be people who are going to get upset. But if you don't acknowledge it, you're just pissing off the whole player base who wants to be playing the mode or feels like they have to, but they know it's not working and you're not acknowledging it. Half the time, just being told that you understand when someone's venting makes them feel better. And if you don't even acknowledge the problem, it just makes us more frustrated, and no one likes that. And I know you don't want that either. Okay, this next section, everything's going to fall under what I'm calling either education or just the ease of a player being able to play the game. And I very specifically came to this node. This is in that new 7-star quest, right? And this node I think is phenomenal. And I'm not talking about how fun it is to play or anything like that. What I want to say is its descriptions are written in every sentence, as you see here. The terms either used are either attacker or defender. It is very easy to identify, okay, the duration of the attacker's unstoppable effects are this. However, if the defender, and so on and so forth, and you can see every single part of it is written that way. And I'm bringing this up because it feels unique. Often, as the nodes start going on, and I understand they have to get longer and longer for more nuance and depth, I get it. But one of the reasons our brains turn to mush and we tune out so quickly is you stop using the terms attacker and defender. You start using the pronouns of they. And I understand sometimes you need to do that, but what happens is it becomes very unclear who or what is being modified and what is going to happen. Now, if you need to do that, what I would ask you to do is start using the color coding that you're putting into champions descriptions. Maybe just make attacker is always green and defender is always red, or something like that, or do everything you can to always use attacker or defender. Now, that was just kind of the beginning of this. And that was a simple showcase. The next thing I would like to do, or I would love to see, and this is especially true as we have new players coming to the game more and more, but I'm an advanced player. In the big scheme of things, I think I'm a very advanced player. On the totality of the player base, there's clearly smarter, more knowledgeable players. But I'm going to ask you this. Can you explain to me what these terms mean and how they relate to each other? And these are simple terms we use all the time. Crit rate, armor, guaranteed crits, and crit resistance. If you can, with 100% confidence and accuracy, explain that to me, I'd like to see that in the comments, because I believe the vast majority of the player base cannot do it. I know that I definitely cannot do it. And those are simple terms used all of the time. We get more and more out there as we go with our terms. And again, complexity is part of the beautiful part of this game, and the depth that is provided. It is worthy and worthwhile. So what do we do about this? I would love to see these terms codified, because I don't feel like all of these terms are always used exactly the same or mean the exact same thing in all nodes and champions abilities. If I'm wrong there, fine, just remove that part from this. I'd like to see them codified and put on a very simple website, maybe on the forums, explaining, here's what armor is, here's what it does, here's how it interacts with these other terms, abilities, whatever, characteristics, attributes. Then you can click on them, and that'll take you to where that other term, like crit resistance, is codified. And players can just go there very easily. You're also directing people back to the forums. It doesn't need to necessarily be in the game itself. And that way people can understand it. And then also, as designers come and they make their champions, we all are working under the same idea and knowledge base of what it actually means to have crit resistance, armor, and guaranteed crits, because guaranteed, to the best of my understanding, actually doesn't always mean it's definitely going to happen. This last part of education, I want to be incredibly clear on. I'm not anti-Merc or pilot. I think they're people. They happen to be incredibly skilled at the game, and they're trying to earn money. I can't blame them for that. I really can't. If you want to hate me for it in the comments, that's fine. Where I do think the problem is, or where I do think the issue really lies, is that there's a market for it. People wouldn't offer their services for pay or for hire if they weren't getting paid really good amounts of money to play the game for them. And there's nothing in the game, to the best of my knowledge, that talks about, it's not visible, it's not prominent, saying having someone else log into your account is against the terms of services and was likely to lead you to being banned. Not them, the person logged on for you, you. We need that. We have transition screens that show, the skill class gets a class advantage against the science class. That's fine. That's fine. But that's not going to lead to someone's account getting banned. Also, there's not a bunch of other things out there in our community showing the opposite. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is, we have mercs and pilots out there who are incredibly well known. They are friends with prominent YouTubers. They are in not all, I happen to know one they're not, but they are in the vast majority of YouTube shown Battlegrounds tournaments. One's buddy-buddy with them. And you have streams being shown that end, and they raid and go raid the channel, the YouTube channel that's run by the Merc, the pilot. It is basically saying, hey, this is cool. This is great. Check this out. It's an endorsement. And then the stream that you go to is basically a commercial showing you how incredibly skilled these players are. And they actually are incredibly skilled. I wish I was as good as them, but I'm not. And then in the actual game itself, where players who are coming up, who are turning to YouTube to watch these videos, to learn, to get better, to learn about the champions, to learn about the nodes, to learn how to tackle this content, they're more likely to learn about a Merc who can do this this service for them than they are in the actual game learning that they shouldn't do that because they're probably going to get banned. Now, I know some of you are like, well, people should just know, and morality and all that. Look, that's fine. That's for a different video. Like I said, I don't blame the Mercs or the pilots. I think they're just people who happen to be incredible at the game and they're trying to earn a buck. I don't honestly really blame them. I think it's the fact that the market has been created and there's people willing to pay them a really high wage in order to do it. I would love to see Kabam get out in front of that, tackle the problem before it is. Less accounts you need to ban, more people that never even consider it. All right, this next one's going to be monetization. I know a lot of people are going to be keyed on this, and this is going to be one that I think there's going to be a lot of different ideas on. And I want to address something very quickly and right off the front is, I mean, I see all of these offers. This is as I'm recording this, right? And this is all that are available. And I know that's something that we often joke about or we talk about how, I mean, back in my day, there was never this. And you're right. You're correct. But I think this is good. About 2 to 3 years ago, I feel like there was a dramatic shift, and I can't pinpoint when exactly happened. But it feels like the monetization style of the game went from, we have a really fun product that is also very addicting with a lot of gambling in it. And how quickly can we possibly get people addicted? And it shifted to, we have an incredibly fun game. We're building a deep, nuanced, complex game. And people are going to want to enhance their experience. What sort of offers can we provide them that allow them to enhance their experience? They don't have to buy them. They're not buying them out of reflex or because they're addicted. They're buying it because they're genuinely enjoying themselves and they want to continue playing and they want to be powerful. Also, maybe because other people that are playing the game the way they are buying them and they want to stay competitive, that's fine. But that's also very different than what felt before. Like, basically, we sell cigarettes. How quickly can we get people smoking, right? Or how quickly can we get people drinking or what have you? As a result, there are more offers of this nature. You're going to see more up there and they stay up longer. There's more 4th of July, Cyber Weekend style events. I totally get that. And that doesn't mean you are going to like it, but I do think it's a kinder, more gentle, and significantly more fun way of monetizing the game. And I really like that. Like, Vega, I thought this was supposed to be about the negatives. Well, here's one. Is all of that? Sure. It was incentivizing people to get the sigil, right? We just had the event where if you had the sigil, you were able to take advantage of it. And I think that, and I get that. And I understand that, right? It's like a bit of a subscription in this live service game. I get that. That's fine. I'm very comfortable with it. The one thing I did not like, and this is where it comes again to feel, I think a lot of this is feel, is the Express Arena. Now, I expected the community to be quite a bit more upset than they are. And now maybe it's just that everyone's having so much fun with the 7 stars that they've kind of just forgot about it, which is fine. I think it also lets you know maybe it wasn't that big of a deal. But to someone like myself who is comfortable spending some of my my earned income on the game, a lot of it does come from YouTube now. I did not like the Express Arena. Not that I don't like the experience. It's made a mode of the game that I have not enjoyed for years in Arena. It's made it a lot better. I can get through it a little more quickly. I can get my event done, get my units, get my items. I'm out. I'm in. I'm out. But Arena always felt like the sacred playground of the free-to-play. And, of course, people modding to get the champions, but that's a different issue. But it was the playground and the sacred spot of the free-to-play. You know, there are some free-to-play players playing in Tier 1. There are some free-to-play players doing pretty well in Battlegrounds. But those are the exceptions to the rule. And it felt like the exception to the rule in Arena was your whales, your dolphins, your behemoths, whatever terms. But your spenders they didn't do the arena because they didn't have the time. So they were spending their money to basically replace the units, the items, the resources that they would have earned if they had the time or the desire to do arena. And so there being what was essentially to me a quality of life implementation that requires spending, and the quality of life was in the mode that was for the free to play. I did not like that. I'm not going to be able to have numbers or tell you the competitive advantage. I never thought arena was competitive because I can't compete with a robot anyway. Also, I could just buy units and then refresh my champions. And that, again, doesn't feel competitive. But I get that there are people who do feel it's competitive. And I respect their opinion. I'm not going to try to prove them wrong. What I am going to do is say, even from my perspective, just even messing with this area or touching on this area or implementing a quality of life in the mode of the game that it feels like it's traditionally been the playground and the domain of free to play, it didn't feel right. And I can feel that way while still personally, selfishly liking the Express Arena. And so what I would advise is don't do that. If there's a quality of life to make arena better, just make it better for everyone. Do something else that increases the value of the sigil to people who are maybe already spending, or it can kind of convince people who are free to play to maybe spend a few bucks. There's nothing wrong with that. But please try to do it in ways that don't interfere with what is already considered the playground and the domain of the free to play. Okay, then I'm going to end this with the CCP thing, and this kind of it ties in with everything. When the game's I love the game. That's why I make this video. And at the 7-star event, I streamed it, and there was probably the most well-attended stream I've ever had as far as like people in the stream for a singular moment. I probably crushed it, except for maybe some of the Battleground streams. And people were having fun. We were celebrating each other's pools and things like that, and that felt so good. But so much that can go in a heartbeat, or just a week earlier, was not there. And part of that is, I'm telling you this. As a member of the CCP, it feels like you often leave us hanging out to dry. When the CCP was really like brought up again, it felt like they were supposed to be partners. I'm talking about feel again, that they were going to be consulted on things. I remember like even Legacy talking about a crystal, and I think it was the Abyss crystal, and how his feedback was taken seriously and it changed the crystal. Now, maybe that wasn't accurate. Maybe it was, I don't know. It wasn't part of the CCP. But I do feel like the way Kabam talked about the CCP, they almost felt like that they should be elected officials that represented various bodies of the player base so that their voice could be heard. I have to say that that is not at all how it feels in the CCP. And I think the vast majority of that is due to communication. When we have things like champions coming out and we can't show them with recoil, or their wording is incorrect, and we go and we make our videos and we're trying to show the community, here's how you can play everything. It makes it very easy for us to come across as just basically hype men or salespeople. And I don't believe that's what any of us intend to do. Now, we're all guilty of it a little bit, right? Like, I wanted to be reflective on this. I don't want to be a hypocrite. I was very proud that I got to attest America Chavez. Oh, it looks like I have a security response. Okay, I got to take care of that. But I was very proud that I got to test America Chavez. And I was like, hey, it'd be really cool if this was added. And somehow that actually happened. I don't know who listened to me and my ideas over at Kabam, but that person, I don't know. They were feeling gracious that day. I'm just kidding. I'm really grateful for that. Thank you. But the relevant part is it felt good for me to say that. And then after I've said it publicly a few times, I'm like, shoot, I'm making it sound like we get to test all this stuff. And then our feedback gets considered. And then they go back to the champion, and it's this back and forth. But we all know that that's not really how this works. Very frequently, do we even know something before the community itself finds out about it? Or something gets leaked or talked about, and then we're stuck answering questions on it. I still get questions on when the Black Panther buff is coming. I'm like, I don't know. Is that public? I have no idea. I actually don't know. I literally, truly don't know. But the community seems to feel that this is happening. And I'm stuck saying like, I think so? I don't know. And I think that all really feeds into the idea. And honestly, the absolute hate that the CCP members get sometimes in our comments. And I have to tell you, It's really not fun. Now, maybe you're full-time YouTubers who do this for a living. They're okay with it. They're cool with it. And that's just part of it. And maybe this is just me being, I've been told I'm not supposed to say it's a hobby. Let's call it a passion project. But in those scenarios, it just feels like we're being hung out to dry. And so what I would love to see us, truly be accepted as like testing partners. And it's just going to be how it is. Or it being said, or it's more public, or it's more acknowledged, like, guys, the CCP didn't know anything about this. They had no idea. Their feedback wasn't taken. Or, we told them about 2 days before you did, and they gave us feedback, but we were not going to listen to it anyways. So what I'm asking for is maybe that communication. I'll give you another example, because this happened very recently. I was watching DLL stream, and he was streaming 8.2. I knew that the community was like, hey, why can't we use our relics? Like, we're being told relics are really cool. I personally like relics, but we couldn't use them in 8.2. And I intentionally kind of gave him like a question because I wanted to hear his answer. But I said like, hey, dude, I'm assuming relics can't be used in 8.2 because 8.2 was probably built without relics in mind. And now if you can use your relics, it's a bit much. And they'll probably come to us, in 6 months or whatever. And I don't remember what his exact answer was, but he's like, yeah, that makes sense, or I think so, or what have you. And then literally like 2 days later, relics are able to be used in 8.2. It just makes us look dumb. It makes us look dumb. I'd just love to see the relationship refined a little bit. And we can be partners or we could not. I actually don't care which one we are. But if we're gonna be partners and it's gonna be treated as if our feedback is meaningful and helpful, I'd like for us to have the opportunity for feedback and the time window for our feedback to be meaningful and to be taken into account. And even then, in that scenario or the scenario where, look, we're just not partners, and that's okay. That's totally fine. I'd like for it to be more publicly acknowledged that the CCP had nothing to do with this. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said to all the viewers, please let me know in the comments. 1, you agree? 2, you don't agree? Fine. Just please be respectful and make this more about feedback that you would like to provide for Kabam. And please keep this realistic though, guys. Please keep this realistic. Thank you so much for watching.